Hey everyone, and welcome back to MMA Alerts. Let's talk about what Islam Makhachev will do next now that she has won UFC 302. Most people didn't think Islam Makhachev would be pushed as hard as he was tonight by Dustin Poirier, but the lightweight champion once again proved that he is one of the most dangerous beings in the universe. At first, it looked like Makhachev would win easily because he hit Poirier and then knocked him out. Poirier was on the defensive for the rest of the round, but the Diamond fought even though Makhachev was on his back for a while. As the fight went on, Poirier fought off more takedowns and hit Makhachev more often with his own shots. In round 4, he hit Makhachev with a cutting elbow that hurt the champion badly. But before Poirier could pull off the surprise win in round 5, Makhachev caught him with a Darce choke that looked mean and knocked out the Diamond for a moment. Here's what Khabib said right after Islam won at UFC 302. To be honest, Islam is growing a lot these days. You have no idea. When you go deep like today, you show people how deep you can go because you know your body and what's inside it. There's more to it than that. You know, we don't even realize how much we underestimate ourselves. Our bodies and souls can go deeper than 5 or 10 rounds. You need to find this. Don't worry about anything. Just find this way, the way you need to go. How to really get in. It was a very tough fight. Makhachev said again, after the exciting fight that he wants to fight for the middleweight title, that sounds like a way the UFC could go. It's possible, but most likely he'll have to beat Arman Tsarukyan again first. They have already played 10 times and won 9 times since their first match in 2019. At the news conference after the fight, Dana White said again that he wants Islam Makhachev to fight Arman Tsarukyan next. This is what he said. That's the fight to have. That's the fight, you see. Everyone wants to see that fight. That fight needs to happen. When we talked about him going up earlier, I told him that I wouldn't even think about it until he had that fight. I'm not sure if that fight should happen in Russia, though. I'm not sure where we do it. When asked about the fight, Arman Tsarukyan said, congratulations to Islam, but don't try to run away to another division. I'm the next person in line to protect your title after you lost it once to a real lightweight. Did you hear about Poirier? Well, after the fight, the hero said that Poirier hadn't officially retired, so it might be the end of his long and successful career. But you never know. Let's say Nate Diaz comes back to the UFC. Could we watch that fight? A look back at Sean Strickland vs. Paulo Costa. Tonight, Sean Strickland took a big step towards securing another chance at the middleweight title. However, one judge gave the vocal fighter a pretty good scare. Early in the fight, Strickland fought the always tough Paulo Costa in the co-main event. Costa's leg kicks to Strickland's lead leg looked like they could be very important, so much so that Strickland moved to southpaw for a while. As the fight went on, though, Strickland started to block the kicks and hit and kick back well. As usual, Strickland kept up the pressure, and after 5 rounds, he scored more points than Costa. It looked like Strickland had won. One judge did score it for Bohechimia, though. I wasn't happy with this judge, and Dana White said that. I knew it was crazy. That's what it was. That person should never get into a big fight again. He should be sent back to the lower leagues to work on his off-field skills. This is amazing. It's hard to see how anyone who isn't completely crazy could call that fight a loss. That makes me feel like I have nothing to say. It's crazy as hell. That person shouldn't be in charge of big fights. It wasn't a surprise that Strickland asked for a title shot after the fight. Will he get it, though? That is a big question. It is expected that Dricus du Plessis, the current champion, will fight Israel Adesanya, who used to be the king, later this year. Since Strickland beat Izzy and just barely lost to du Plessis, he seems like the next person in line. When he spoke to the press after the fight, Strickland also said that he was ready to wait for a title shot. I'm going to wait. Man, I did what I had to do. I did what I had to do. Someone stole from me in Canada. I'm sorry, but I was robbed there. Guys, everyone knows I was robbed. He doesn't back up, at least. As a team player, I'm going to wait in the gym until they tell me to go beat this guy. How long are you ready to wait for the title shot? For as long as it takes. I want the gold for as long as it takes, dude. I need the cash. Guys, if you fight these top 10 motherfuckers, you're just one slip and dodge away from getting knocked out. I did what I had to do. I did what we did. I fought Costa. I didn't want to. I did it. Please give me the title shot. I beat Izzy, and now that jerk gets a shot at the title. Don't forget, though, that on June 22nd, Hamza Chimaev will fight Robert Whittaker. So if Boris can kill Bobby Knuckles in an exciting way, he might be next in line for a title shot. In the end, Whittaker is one of the best middleweights of all time, and Chimaev is one of the game's hottest new prospects. Also, Strickland recently spoke out about fighter pay, which may not make UFC management happy. He said, but I'm not just doing the right things, man, while talking to Daniel Cormier. The UFC doesn't do the right things. It's not doing what it should. It's not doing what it should. Most of them are lists. Take a look at how much the UFC's managers are making compared to how much other fighters are paid. The UFC doesn't do the right thing. They're not going to do it unless you hold them off with a gun. What do you think? Do you think Strickland will fight for the title again? Ian Gary doesn't want to fight Michael Venom Page. Ian Machado, a deal has been made for Gary to fight Michael Venom Page at UFC 303. After reading that, you might think it means the growing star wants to fight the Bellator vets, right? Don't believe that. Yes, it was finally stated that Gary will fight Page on the June 29th card. There had been a lot of talk and speculation about who he would fight next. After a week of fighting online and in the news, Gary and Colby Covington finally made the reveal, but at least for now, they won't be fighting anytime soon. Well, Gary talked to Lucky Block Casino not long ago. The Irish boxer made it clear that fighting MVP is not at all what he wants to do when asked about it. I have absolutely no desire to fight MVP. I'm not going to lie. I'm not interested at all. This is something I've said a lot. I've only ever won in my life. I haven't lost yet. I did everything I said I would do to everyone I said I would do it to. Someone in the top 5 is the only person who is ready to fight me. There isn't anyone higher than me who is free to fight. That is the first job I've ever had where there is no one above me and only people below me. If I want to fight, I have to look down and ask, who is the biggest name? What opponent do UFC fans and the people who run the UFC want me to face the most? That's the only person who can make it happen if everyone says Michael Bennett and Page. But I have absolutely no desire to fight. I feel like I'm on the same level as both of them in every way. And now is just a chance to show it and prove it to people. There you have it. I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise to people who have been watching Gary. It may have come as a surprise to hear him say that he has no interest in the fight. You might have thought he would say that he's not really interested in the scrap. Page did say that Gary wasn't too excited about the idea of fighting when he first brought it up a while ago. He did agree to the fight in the end, though at this point, it looks like this fight wouldn't happen if Gary's very popular countryman Conor McGregor hadn't been fighting at UFC 303. Let's see what comes next for Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland came back to the middleweight division at UFC 302, and the highlight reel fighter added another win to his record with a brutal win. Michael Olashechuk, a rough southpaw, was up against Holland. And there was a brief moment when things looked very bad for the leader. This is because Olashechuk knocked Holland out with a big left early in the fight. Holland started to work on an armbar, though, as he tried to finish the scrap from above. When Olashechuk tried to roll out, it didn't work. Also, the Polish fighter wouldn't tap, which is bad news for people who have stomachache, is that Holland kept turning the arm, and soon it either broke or moved out of place. And then, thank goodness, the fight was over. What is Kevin Holland going to do next? It's an interesting question since he had just lost to welterweight prospects Jack Della Maddalena and Michael Venom Page. Holland could decide to stay at 185 pounds for now and try again at middleweight. What do you think? Balomame gets a bad name from Sean Strickland. Bill Mohammed is probably not on Sean Strickland's mind too much this weekend since he just faced Paulo Costa at UFC 302. The former middleweight champion, on the other hand, is still fighting with the welterweight rival. Yes, you can say that about Strickland and a lot of other UFC athletes as well. Not long ago, Mohammed put Strickland down for using a lot of jabs and said the controversial boxer has more bark than bite. Mohammed also talked about some of Strickland's emotional breaks that happened while he was doing interviews. They apparently have problems with each other because of something they said on social media a while ago about Palestine, which is where Mohammed's parents are from. Okay, so before UFC 302, Strickland was asked to answer Mohammed's most recent statements. It wasn't a surprise that Strickland fired back and then some. What a little girl. I always say, hey, Bilal Mohammed, you effing Miami, where the F are you from? Every time I see this mother effing person, let's take care of it. He walks away and puts his head down, little twiddle thumbs, then gets on the twiddle and starts reading, hey, dude, you should really go fight for your country in Palestine. You can get the F out of here. And how does Strickland think Mohammed will do against Edwards at UFC 304 in July? Leon is probably going to F you up. At this point, it's not likely that these two will ever meet in a real octagon. But it's likely that we haven't heard the last of these two arguing yet. Now let's talk about UFC news. He hasn't thrown down yet in 2024, but it looks like that will happen this summer. As of late, MMA Orbit said Kutelaz had said he would be fighting at the UFC event in Abu Dhabi on August 3rd. After hearing that, MMA fan Farah Hunun said that Kutelaz will fight Abdulkarim Alabama Sawadi at the next event. It will be very important for Kutelaz because he just lost 2 fights in a row to Damir Ismagulov and Elvis Brenner. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for latest fight updates.